one. Miss Makenzie, thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a delight to be here with you.
Yeah. And I like that you use the word delight because you use that in your branding.
I do.
Delighted. Which is actually kind of funny because a few weeks back, remember I messaged you and I told you that I had a dream about, I was like eating hummus, like chocolate hummus or something like that in a factory that had lots of bright colors and art, kind of like the eagle painting behind you there. And I was like, I need some delighted by. And I just kept seeing in my dream state, it was like this beautiful, like handwritten delighted by. And I'm pretty sure that your marketing and branding is working because it got into my brain.
My gosh. That is hilarious. Well, coming from a place of absolutely zero strategy, that's great to know.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. Well, I would say you're naturally on point there.
Our intuition normally is. So.
Yes. So, for those of you listening that don't know who Makenzie is, would you be able to kind of give a little bit of a background and who you are and what you do?
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So I'm Makenzie Marzluff. I'm sitting here in Bozeman, Montana, which is a bit of a recent shift for my partner, Michael, and I. I am what I would call myself a heart-centered entrepreneur, or someone else may say like conscious entrepreneur, but serial entrepreneur, because I've been an entrepreneur since the minute I knew it was even possible to be one. It just was a natural instinct for me. I have a few brands right now, currently. The first one being Delighted By, as you mentioned. And Delighted By came to the world in 2015, early 2015, channeled through me. And it was originally the home of the original Dessert Hummus. So the first dessert hummus to national shelves here in the States. And now it's kind of transforming into a high vibe dessert company where we offer different, allergen-free desserts. Yes. And then I also am the founder of KAKAO with the K, KAKAO, KAKAO Ceremonial Drinking Chocolate. Started that over 5 years ago as well. And that is our nonprofit. So we are going to talk, you and I are going to talk a little bit more about ceremonial grade cacao. But that's really dear to my heart. It's such a passion project. And then lastly, the co-founder of REQUESTbar, which is a high vibe protein bar company. And maybe we'll talk more about that as well, but it's launching next month with my partner, Michael, here in Montana. We're starting our very own manufacturing facility that is a completely new approach to food manufacturing that, just like your dream, it does indeed have color and art and dance and music and sound and mantra and prayer and light. So that's a little bit about me and what I'm up to right now. But overall, I'm really passionate about restoring the heart into all areas of life, relationship, family, and business. And I wrote a book called How to Lead a Badass Business from Your Heart, sharing a little bit about my first few years of working with Delighted By, and trying to approach business from a completely new, in a completely new way than what the world had seen in business, but also from what I had done in the past. So I'm sure we'll talk about that today as well.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, wow, like you've been busy, and it's very inspiring because, it takes a lot of effort to get something off the ground and to take it from a vision that you hold in here. Well, out there, I'm holding up, my hands are beside my head. I mean, in here.
Yeah.
I don't know where I am right now, but holding it in here and then putting it out into the world, and all of the different, obstacles in a lot of way that you kind of have to overcome, not just out there in the world, but kind of in yourself when you first start doing it. Has that been like that self-doubt and some of that, like, oh, I don't know if I can do this or handle this? Like, have you gone through any of that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would say business, just like Sacred Union is all personal development. It's just the fastest way to grow. And so I've been, since day one, have been challenged in my business, invited forward, and reflected different ways that I could grow and expand and come out of doubt and into sovereignty and in further into my leadership, my blocks to that, blocks to abundance, just all the blocks get illuminated inside of leading business in this way. And I've definitely, just like every business, of course, there are obstacles, of course. It's kind of like, from one perspective, it would look like one issue after the other. And from my perspective, it's like one puzzle after the other to just kind of solve and dig into and be present with. And now I'm less attached to just like having it all go perfectly right away. I'm more just in the curiosity. Okay, what puzzle is this going to teach me? Because I always take a nugget of wisdom or a key away from every puzzle in my business that I then can apply in the future. And it helps me create a better foundation as an entrepreneur so that I can grow and expand into the next stage. So yeah, that's how I see it.
That's a good mindset to have, because I really feel like that over time gives you longevity rather than burnout.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've definitely had my fair share of burnouts when I was looking at everything like a problem and of like, why isn't it working? Why is it going like this? And then after kind of going through my initiations of surrender and trust and really deepening into trust inside of my nervous system, because that was a big one for me. I trust so much that every little thing is happening for me, or that it's showing me something that's important.
And so for you, when it comes to sort of deepening that sense of trust, like how, I would like to touch on that, because that's just a really, I'd say significant, I would say that's such a significant thing for many people. And it's so hard if you have those fears and doubts, and especially if they're stemming from that lack of trust of yourself, the world, like how to overcome that. So what did that look like for you?
It's been a journey. I think we're born into a society that basically says, don't trust life, don't trust yourself, and don't trust God. Like basically just, we've been put into this rat race of survival and this like just really connected into primal instinct of needing to provide for ourselves, pay the bills, go back to work, do the thing. And I think for me and for anyone, it would be a journey of relaxing the nervous system out of that survival mode and out of the conditioning that we were taught. Like even for me, going to school when I was younger felt really unnatural. So I would wake up with my stomach in knots every day. And I didn't thrive in school. It didn't support my creativity. It didn't support my way of being socially. I felt really awkward. And I was like nauseous every single morning that I had to go to school, which was 18 years of my life, or however many years. And so, yeah, I guess it would have been 18 or more years after college. So I think for me, what that's looked like is relaxing my nervous system, and the specific tools that have helped me do that are, again, this is my personal journey, but plant medicine. So I'm like getting a memory of my combo journeys. I don't know if you've ever heard of combo, but it's an Amazonian frog that excretes a poison, and the poison, through a specific shamanic practice, gets put into your body. And what happens is your body goes into instantly has to create this immune response. And it sucks out any toxins inside of your body, but it also is energetically clearing you. And for me, those moments were so physically challenging that I had to learn surrender. I had to learn like how to completely let go and stop trying to control life and really surrender and connect in with something bigger than me. And there have been other moments where I've hit my knees to the ground just in general and been like, I give up, I can't control this. Like, and turning to my faith, and my faith has gone through so many transformations. I grew up really religious and Christian and conservative, and I turned against that when I was in college, and then found my own connection to something bigger than me and to Gaia as well, the spirit of the earth, and to my angels and to my inner being, to my heart. And so it's like these moments with the plant medicines where they've really tested me. Mother ayahuasca has really tested me at times and given me some tough love, but she's also shaken me and helped my nervous system shake out all the programming, and all the ways that I tensed growing up and all the ways that I tensed in social situations. And then, so then life became the ceremony because I would go into these shamanic situations and then I would get out of them and something would happen in my business that felt really intense. And it was like, okay, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to freak out, or are you going to embody the tool that you were just given, or embody the message? And so I would stop and pause, breathe, open my hands, relax my shoulders, and pray. And this became my, not just a spiritual practice anymore, but something I would do in my business. And then over time, my body has just relaxed more and more and more and more, to now where we're really quote unquote busy. I don't like that word. We have a very full life right now because of our launches. And I'm very relaxed. Like, if someone else could look at all the things that have gone wrong, because we were supposed to launch 4 months ago. And I've never once been like, oh, I'm so frustrated. I'm just more like, it's all good. It's all in divine timing, even though we haven't had income since February and we have invested all of our resources. Again, I hear the divine guidance and I'm trusting it only because I've had the last 7 years to be in the boot camp that I was in.
Right. So kind of developing that trust for yourself, it sounds like you've developed and strengthened your intuition and the connection that I believe we all have the ability to tap into. But like you said, due to programming, we don't actually realize how much power we have. And I could get into, a whole nother episode on why I feel that there's a lot of that going on. But what a shift in our generation and what we're trying to do with this world versus our parents' generation, that boomer generation, and the difference in mindset and mentality. Like, we realize that, being of service and being, present with this idea of how can I make this a better place for everyone and for future generations versus, how can I collect as many resources and get as rich as possible and fuck everybody else.
Yeah, right. Yes. Literally.
So it kind of sounds like you're using your your business and your purpose here, your calling essentially to help shift the old paradigm in business, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And so for you, when it comes to, I guess recognizing your calling or your purpose, like we've just referred to, how do you think other people can recognize their calling? What are some of the first, knocks at the door that you would maybe be able to speak to?
Sure. I think the first step is asking the question, and really asking, again, whatever it is that thing you turn to, whether it's your heart, the universe, your higher self, God, and asking, what is my purpose? Or if that question is too big, because sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, you can just ask, like, what is the next right step for me? And that would be in alignment with my purpose. What is the next place you would have me go? Like, what are the next words you'd have me say, the next people you would have me meet? Like, guide me, turning to that higher guidance versus the monkey brain or the rat race kind of conditioning, where we're just like kind of in that default, I don't know what you would call it, but it's not coming to me, the term, but where you're just kind of going through the motions. Instead, if you could stop, this is what I did, just really stop and pause and ask, what is my purpose? I'm listening. And then make the time to actually listen. Especially now, it's way harder because we have technology constantly keeping us distracted. And so in the beginning of my journey, when I was journaling a lot. I was asking these big questions and then the small questions. And then, what would you have me do today? What is my overall mission? What am I here for? Why am I here? What am I meant to do with my energy, with my time? And I'd ask the big questions and the small questions, and I'd put them in my journal, but then I would stop and I would listen for the answer. Or I would let something bigger than me right through my pen and answer. Actually, Alyssa Romeo in her book, Meet Your Soul, talks about this when she journals to her soul and she lets her soul respond with the answers. And what happened for me was I was in the question mark for several months, and it was really eating me because I didn't know like this business venture didn't work out. I just didn't know what was next for me. And I knew I didn't want to work for anyone else. I knew I wanted to be creative. I couldn't feel it. And when I went to my very first ayahuasca ceremony in January of 2015, I asked, what is my purpose? And she said, your purpose is to spread your glitter. Your purpose is to spread your glitter in the world.
Oh,
yeah, it was a really amazing visual. I'll never forget it. It was this little angel and this fairy just flying around the earth and sprinkling her glitter and being her light, like everywhere she goes. And that was she just bring her energy to the room. And I was just like, if you just show up everywhere you go and spread your glitter, that will fulfill your purpose. And that really gave me a huge sigh of relief, because I was trying to figure out like the what, but really what she gave me was the how.
Oh, yeah.
So it ended up coming down to the fact that it doesn't matter what I do. What matters is how I do it and where I'm coming from and when I do it. So then the next day, when I was integrating my ceremony, I was randomly, but not randomly, making dessert hummus for fun. And it was something I'd been making for like a year and a half. And long story of how that even happened. I was just making it for fun for my friend. And I heard a message. This is one way you're going to spread your glitter. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And I took it very seriously. And within a week, I was at farmers markets. And as I was walking to those farmers markets, I would say, my intention is to spread my glitter today. And I would ask people, what are you delighted by? Do more of that. What are you not delighted by? Do less of that. And so I just kind of started using that as a guidepost of like following what I am delighted by, letting go of anything I'm not delighted by. And then also just coming from a place of humble service, of asking Spirit, please guide me. Spirit, move through me, speak through me, guide me to each next step, with my one overall mission in life is to spread my glitter. So that's a little starting place of where you can get clear.
No, that's really helpful, because you can struggle for a long time with your ego, like really. And that's kind of something that I've realized over time is there is such a different quality and energy behind what you create and how it magnifies and draws people, situation to you. Like this is why I'm saying I can totally relate in this way, because if I try to hustle, which I am not delighted by, if I try to hustle, nothing happens. I get like doors, like energetic doors slammed in my face. Whereas I'm like, okay, fine, I surrender. I'm going to get out of the way. How may I serve? How may I serve? And then all of a sudden, that's when the right people come into my life and the right opportunities. And sure enough, then I'll start to struggle with my ego again. And it's like, oh, well, there's all kinds of things that are not working right now. So again, it's kind of like checking yourself and getting out of the way over and over. And I haven't fully surrendered. I'm really looking forward to that day. I would say I'm like on the journey, but I, like you, don't trust life. I don't trust very many people. And I would say I'm trying to start with really developing my trust for myself and my intuition, because we really get taught that your intuition is this woo-woo sort of concept. Let's hustle from the brain, the mind. Let's, dominate the workforce. Let's dominate one another. Let's climb the ladder. And I just feel like it is that old paradigm. It's destructive to our relationships. It's destructive to the planet. It's destructive to ourselves. And so I love you so much and what you're about. This is amazing. It's such a great way to inspire other people to know that you don't have to do that icky hustle, work hard, play hard kind of thing. It's like work smart and, enjoy the process and slow down and cut out the stuff you aren't delighted by.
Totally. Yeah. And it's like the slowing down is really necessary in order for us to hear the guidance, and then there's the times where you get the push and you're like, just do the damn thing, and you have to just do it and kind of get out of your way and be like, okay, I'm just going to embody strength right now. And I know that I'm meant to do this thing. It's testing me a little bit. It's not as like chill as it would feel if I was on the beach in Maui or something, but it's moving through me and I'm inspired by it. And I'm a full fuck yes. And I'm just letting something move through you versus doing something from the head. Like so often I used to say the grind is dead, because when it comes to the grind, the way that entrepreneurs traditionally talk about the grind is that it's all from the head, of just like head down, have your strategy and just execute. And so this doesn't look like you're not working, this way of doing it on my end. It's not like I'm not working. I'm in action all the time, but I'm listening of when to be and when not to be, when to slow down, when to pause, when to take the inspired action.
That would be a really good segue into how to balance that work life and all of that action then with your personal life, because again, that is kind of going into speaking to anyone listening that is, maybe workaholic, that term of, working and hustling. But then maybe your work life, you have what we would, consider success, but maybe your personal life, your relationships are kind of struggling. So how would you recommend creating some balance, as well as knowing and identifying when you are no longer in balance?
I do believe that it's going to look different for every person, because what feels balanced to one person might not be balanced for another. And so I think the first step is really owning what's right for you, like really own that. I think I was lucky to have a foundation of wellness before I started these ventures, in terms of the kind of studying what foods and lifestyle is right for me, and what exercise I enjoy. what activities make me feel good, such as being in nature. So I kind of had this natural inclination to those things already. And if I don't do them, I'm fucked. So at the end of the day, there are times where I've chosen to not do them because I was pushing myself too hard. And then life will show me that, hey, that's not going to work out very well for you. So that might lead to, again, like back in the day, an anxiety attack or extreme overwhelm, or something in my body might show up. Like maybe I'll, like my moon, there was a time where I was really stressed, and how that showed up in my monthly cycle was just a lot of cramps and pain and aches. And that was telling me that I wasn't listening to my body. So it's just kind of paying attention to those cues. I also think that everyone knows, like secretly knows whether or not they're balanced. So for a workaholic, for instance, if that's your truth, if you're like, I'm just so lit up by this, this is my dharma, I'm genuinely meant to be putting this many hours in right now, then just own it. Like just own it so fully and let go of guilt, let go of what the Instagram like meme told you, and just, about slowing down or whatever, and just like embrace the phase of being lit up. And that's what I do, because I'm not always in a lit place. But right now, lately, after living in Hawaii and really healing my nervous system, I'm now in a space of like harnessing my masculine again and being really lit. I'm just so passionate right now. So I'm just owning it, right? I'm just like, yes, but of course I still take the time to do some Pilates, go in nature, take the walk. And it's going to be less than when I was in Hawaii, but I own that and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it kind of being like the cycle. Whereas for someone else, they might want the same kind of balance every single day, and the more regimen, the more routine. And then there might be the workaholic that's not genuinely lit up by what they're doing, and they can like kind of internally know they're avoiding something.
Right.
Maybe their relationships aren't like as deep, but they don't want to go deeper because they're scared of intimacy. Maybe they are hiding in their room or hiding behind their phone because they're scared that they don't belong, or they're scared of that they might be rejected. And so it's looking at that of like, okay, how can I evolve in that area of my life, and then really make it a priority and challenge yourself and push yourself. And then I think the scales will start tipping in terms of balance. So it's all about having awareness of what really is going on with me, what is my soul needing, and then listening.
Yeah, that's very true. It is not a one size fits all. And I could definitely, as you were saying about the different people and different styles, I had different people coming to mind. I was like, oh yeah, like, I think we can get a little stuck in like rigid thinking, and myself included. And so it's good to remember that, there isn't a blueprint and a one size fits all. You really have to kind of figure out that for yourself and what that's going to look like. And like you said, what matters to you, and what matters to you right now might change in a couple of years. Like your priorities change.
It changes for me all the time, because I was in a big season of really deepening into my relationships. Like when we were in Hawaii, I didn't feel like I had a lot of really close friends. I didn't feel like I had really let people see me, and so Michael and I created a community where we were called KAPU, and we were just on those virtual ceremonies every week. And I made the intention, I'm going to really let people see me. And I walked away after that year feeling like I had the best friends in the world. And then it just kept growing and growing and growing. I'm like, whoa, I have so many nourishing friendships, so many amazing brothers and sisters in my life. And then it was kind of like the scales were tipping. It was like all community, all friendship, all, but I wasn't I wasn't in like a big business phase. And for me, that was right. And so I'm just kind of right now, like kind of tipping it back. And I look at my week ahead. I'm like, okay, I just got back from Arizona. I was in connection all week. I feel so nourished, so connected, so built up on my community. And now I'm going to just pour that into my venture. And like Michael and I, we will share our values with each other every week because our values are always changing. So one week my value might be like deep connection and intimacy. And one week my value might be creativity or productivity or devotion. And so it's just honoring how your values shift all the time. So yeah.
And so you guys get together, you and your husband, you guys sit together once a week and you have a conversation and kind of just get on the same page.
Yeah.
How
We
does
call
that
it
look?
Sunday service.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And we can link to it in the show notes because we did a podcast on it, just like what our template is. But it's essentially where we come together and we share each other like what our values are right now so that we can take that into consideration over the next week. Like for instance, if my value, no, like if Michael's value is like, I don't know, taking care of his personal well-being, and I'm just like, oh, you're not paying enough attention to me, or like, why haven't we had a lot of time together, or something stupid. It's like, well, I clearly didn't listen to what his value is this week.
Right.
Like really honoring what his desires are, his needs and all that. So another thing we'll do is acknowledge each other from the week before, and then we'll set our intentions for the week ahead. We'll also cover any like logistics of like, because we work together and we live together. So we're like, how are we taking care of our home? How are we go through, how are we going to contribute to our home? How are we going to contribute to our family and our community and our businesses and our love life and our, and ourselves. So we go through that and we come up with an example for each one. And then we'll say, we'll give each other space to freely talk about any deep-seated feelings that have come up. So it's just a space where we both are committed to listening to each other. Is there any resentment? Is there anything that got lost in the week because of we were busy or something like that? So we just eye to eye have that conversation.
Okay. And so when you guys first started how long have you guys been doing this for, just out of curiosity?
Probably 2 years.
Was it kind of difficult at first in the beginning? The reason why I say this is because excuse me, I had some butter in my coffee this morning and I got that little but I can't give it up because it's just so good. Okay. But
I hear you.
but like that sort of beginning trying to get two people on the same page, especially if you've realized, okay, there's some things that aren't working. There's some resentment. There's some, I believe we both want the same things, but in different ways. And kind of some of that uncomfortable feeling of even just saying your truth and saying what you need. And I don't know about you, but I'm still learning how to say what I need without guilt. Because I, in the past, have learned it's not safe to say what I need. And so you get, like, for me, I get like this nervous and anxious sort of like, so we're still learning that in our relationship. Like, how do we get on the same page? And yeah, it's funny because we had heard that Jordan Peterson, actually, he said that, if you don't get together once a week, like it's a priority, like you and your partner for an hour once a week should always have a conversation about the relationship. And then there should be a separate conversation on a different day about like your domestics and kind of like logistics. Because if you can't start there, your relationship is going to be like, you're living in two different worlds.
Seriously.
So in the beginning for you, when you kind of you guys started this practice, how did you get there? And how did you kind of navigate the feelings around saying your needs and being really like forthcoming?
Yeah, how it came up was that like the idea came through because there was something coming up for me that I was really nervous to talk about. And Michael and I, since the beginning, we've been working with the medicine and cacao and all these things. But so we've been really open with each other, and at times emotionally just like really open. Like any place, anytime we're going into it.
Mhm.
And for me, with what I wanted to bring up, I just really wanted to cultivate a safe space that I knew was like, yeah, just like a sacred space
Mm.
where there was kind of some context and we were both prepared to kind of finish it through. Um, and I just also noticed that we were kind of going down a different trajectory. And I was like, are we still on the same page? Okay, that's fine if we are, but at least I need to voice what's important to me. And it's on me to voice that. And if he's a no, he's a no. But at least I need to like give myself the space to voice it and say, this is really important to me in my relationship, and then like see how he responds. So that was just why I was inspired to it, because I wanted a safer space, because I'm like you, where like voicing something like that, I'd be really nervous. And I just needed to kind of provide that space for myself, because I just didn't want it to turn into a fight, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. So then I'd even preface that, like, if I am bringing something forward that I'm nervous about, I just say it. I
Mhm.
just say, hey, I really want to talk to you about something, but I'm nervous and a little scared. Like, I really don't want it to turn into a fight or anything. I don't have it all figured out and it's not all put together. So it's kind of messy. So will you love me through it? So when you preface something like that, it's really hard for it to go wrong, because
Right.
you've already like provided so much context for the person to have more of a listening of you. Yeah.
Right.
So that's
That's
kind of why it happened.
beautiful.
And it was hard. Like there was resistance in the beginning, but then we just, yeah, practiced and it became a lot better. And now our practice is like actually doing it. So
Mm.
rather than it being like oh, this person like invited us to this, so we put it aside or we wait for another week or whatever. So now it's more about like coming back to really doing it every week.
Okay, so instead of, oh, this week we can't do it, and then all of a sudden you
Yeah.
fall out of it, it's like, no,
Yeah.
this is a priority because we are
Yeah.
a priority.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, that's beautiful. Yeah, I was just curious because, it's like relationships have so many challenges. How long have you guys been together
Mhm.
for?
5 years now. Yeah.
Okay,
Under
yeah.
under that actually.
Okay, yeah, we're just around 4 years. We'll be
Yeah.
4 years. We decided to make because we couldn't figure out when exactly it became official because we are friends first. But we
Yes.
made it.
Oh.
We chose the date 11/11. So
Oh, cute.
yeah,
I love that.
but
Wow.
it is difficult. I
It
mean,
is. Yeah.
and the thing is, it's like you can love somebody and there's like in a relationship, you've got your stuff, they've got their stuff. Then you have your relationship stuff. You've seen each other at your best, you've seen each other at your worst. And I think it takes a lot of just takes a lot of patience and a lot of coming back to the goal of like, okay, we're both pissed off here. We're both licking our wounds because,
Yeah.
we had an argument or something like that. And then you say, nope, I'm going to close off. And then when both people do
Yeah.
that, you kind of have to have the courage to say, all right, like, yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm afraid to open up, but I'm going to just push past being a little uncomfortable and realize that you have two options. Try your freaking best to
Mm.
make it work, or don't be in the relationship at that point if you
Totally.
can't, right? So,
So true.
so, you were kind of talking about ceremonies and how that has been a big part of your life, and as well as like for you and Michael. Um, I am so curious about a cacao ceremony. I keep seeing people having them. I saw that you were having some recently.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know anything about how that works and
Mm.
just have such a curiosity for like um what it is. Are you able to
Mm.
tell me and the listeners a little bit about
Of
that?
course. Yeah. So, well, how cacao started for me was like a solo cacao ceremony for myself, like a couple times a week. And then it started kind of becoming daily, where it was just my excuse to come into what are my intentions for the day, and maybe listen to a meditation or listen to like a Gene Keys transmission or something that inspires me. Like I'm always in different phases. So back in the day, it was maybe like Abraham Hicks, like law of attraction, and and so just with the cacao, how it started was forming a relationship between me and her. So every plant has a spirit. Cacao is a feminine spirit that, yeah. So cacao, she is really like the proverb, I guess you call it, is that cacao will come out of the jungle and into the Western world when we're out of balance. And that's why we see so much cacao like popping up everywhere, especially as light workers. It's because she is coming out of the jungle and into our hearts to help balance be restored, come out of our heads into our hearts, to drop deeper into our bodies again, to have receptivity to new ideas, to connection, and also to help our nervous systems calm down, and in that, to assist us in our emotions being released. So a lot of times when someone drinks cacao in a ceremonial way, which if you want to know about like what ceremonial grade cacao is and why it's different, I can go through that. But when someone works with cacao in a more ceremonial way, and why I say ceremonial, what that really means is in right relations with the plant.
Right.
So in a way where you're conversing with it and you're giving thanks and you're in reverence, you're utilizing the plant as your guru. You're kind of coming down, bringing your hands together, bowing to the plant and saying, thank you for coming to me. Thank you for finding me. I am a yes to learning. I am a yes to, hearing. I'm a yes to being worked on through your wisdom. So what happens is a lot of times people will have emotions come up for them. And and people are like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm crying. I'm like, no, it's very normal. That's what a cacao ceremony often is it helps the release. But also, she is incredibly activating of our creativity. So she came into my life during the early stages of Delighted By, and boom, like my creativity just started lighting up. I didn't even think I was a creative person. And also she's a connector. So she helps you connect in deeper to anything, essentially. Connect in deeper with yourself, with God, with others, with nature, with your creation. It just is a connector. So there's no right or wrong way to have a cacao ceremony, other than a couple things. You just want to say yes to the spirit of cacao to come into your heart. And number 2, set your intention. And then you bring it into your body and just kind of flow with it. A lot of it for me was kind of a listening, just listen to what she's saying, get to know her voice, be open to that. And then our group cacao ceremonies, the other night, for instance, our brother Sean led one, and there was music, there was a meditation, there was a sharing circle, and a prayer. Like we all held hands and just said, sounds very cultish, but
no, and meanwhile in my head, I'm like, sign me up, sign me up, sign me up. Right. I want to drink the Kool-Aid.
I know. Then we all held hands and sang. But no, really, we said a prayer for the earth, and we shared, what our intentions are, what we're blessing the planet with right now. And it's just amazing, like how chocolate can be an excuse to drop into these more ceremonial practices. But it's not just any chocolate. It's we're sourcing a native strain of cacao, working with family-owned farms in Peru, utilizing the whole bean. We're not using any commercial methods of processing. It's all stone ground, all traditional, and all beautiful. In reverence to the land, to the people. It's a nonprofit so that they all get honored. But yeah.
Oh, you know what? I I've seen it come up a couple of times in on Instagram from you, and I'm like, I want to get some. And like you were saying that you and Michael call, and it's Sundays that once a week you guys call it service.
Sunday service.
Sunday
Yes.
service, right?
With cacao. We always bring cacao too.
Yeah. And I think that would be such a beautiful practice. And as you're saying this, I know Bronson has been, every time he goes to the grocery store, he's getting dark chocolate.
Oh,
So he's obviously craving
yeah.
something there. And we did call Sundays Magic Day for a long time, and now we've decided to start calling it church.
Oh, cool. Love it. That's it.
We're like, we should call it church.
We call it cacao church. So
Yeah. Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah, I would love to try some. And for anybody that's listening, I am going to provide some links for you to order all of the good things. Makenzie has provided little gifts, so we'll be sharing that in the show notes. So don't worry, you can try some. Okay, so if I wanted to get some, okay, I'm just gonna say I'm going to get some
Cacao.
Yes, and so would I then? Would you recommend for me to try a few ceremonies on my own first?
Well, if you don't know of a ceremony going on in your city, then yes.
Okay.
And you can order for Canada, flycacao.ca. And on the website, there's some resources like how to have a cacao ceremony on your own or how to have a personal cacao ceremony. And then we also have a lot of playlists, like cacao ceremony playlists on Spotify. You could just put your headphones in and start writing out your intentions. And yeah, just kind of see. Sometimes people will like give their husbands cacao, for instance. And I'm always like, it's working on them, whether they know it or not. Like,
okay.
You know, because like their family member, they'll just take the cacao and they'll drink it and be like, yeah, this is good. And like keep going about their day. I'm like, it's working on them either way. So for you to even bring that level of intention, even though you've never done it before, you will feel it and you'll have an experience, I think. I mean, it's not psychedelic, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what though? Like if you are in tune and sensitive and you have the intention, which I do, I like having intention behind things. And I definitely have I have my beliefs in all magical things.
Yeah.
Funny you actually said the gene keys because that is something that, just to kind of take a step sideways for a second, I recently have kind of stumbled upon that. And I think I felt like for like a long time, I'm so sorry. This is really annoying for anyone listening to me right now.
You're fine.
Yeah, you know, for like a long time, I've kind of like over the last few years, I've also had that kind of up and down with my faith and what I believe in and things that maybe I used to believe kind of gave some meaning to me. A lot of those things were very external. And I mean, I spent a lot of my early 20s looking for those answers outside of myself. And then it's deepened and it's kind of, you know, ebbed and flowed. But now recently, so randomly, you know, I'd heard of the gene keys and then someone went on a live the other day. And do you know Blue of Earth on Instagram or whatever? Yeah, I don't know her personally, but I saw she was going live. I clicked on it and she's talking about the gene keys. And all of a sudden I was like, you know, I hadn't been on social media for a couple of days and I was driving somewhere. I was like, I don't feel like listening to anything. And I just happened to open up my phone and it spoke to me. And I absolutely love like all of the teachings in there so far and just how empowering it is to understand that on a deep level, when you start to look at your DNA and how much you can influence it and change it through your intention, you kind of move out of this like powerless, I need someone else to help me figure this out, and into I have everything already inside of me, this incredible force and intelligence. And we're all connected through that. So, yeah,
Yay.
I
I'm so
know.
glad you're starting that journey.
Yeah.
Gene keys are amazing. Like I've always said that they're the closest thing to ayahuasca without drinking ayahuasca.
Okay. That's
Because
similar to what Blue had said.
oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a transmission, that works on you and it kind of shows up in your life. And actually Blue works very closely with Aya too. So that doesn't surprise me
Mhm.
because we're kind of on a similar trajectory on all that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's just, it's all about activating your gifts or activating your genius, I would say,
Mhm.
opening your heart, and then inside of that, bringing your gifts through your heart to the world, which therefore unlocks your prosperity. So it's this 3-stage process that you get to go through with a golden path program of the gene keys. It's been life
Right.
changing.
Okay. And so with that kind of, basis, and then along with something like a cacao ceremony,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
you could really call in your purpose and that
Mhm.
transmission. Could you not?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. There's so many people in our community that work with cacao and the gene keys together. And it really gives you insight to your gifts. So that they're like little keys of what you can follow. Yeah. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you were talking earlier and you were saying about like coming together and, even in like ceremony, I
Mhm.
was like, what I was thinking of was the, idea and this concept of all human beings kind of just like being cells, like just like the cells in your body are connected and communicate. And I was
Mm.
like, that's such a really interesting and digestible way for me to understand that, connection of all things. It's so easy to be like,
Mm.
yeah, we're all one man. But it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you,
Right.
I have like also as much as that spiritual curiosity and wonder for life and the universe. I also have that part of my brain, which I think is a good thing to have, that critical mind, where
Mhm.
it's, you know it at the same time is there and it can help give me some discernment. It also can be a block of like,
Mhm.
I have a hard time accepting things unless I can understand it on like a intellectual as well as like spiritual
Mm.
level.
Yeah. No, I hear you for sure.
So,
Mm.
okay. So then something I did want to come back to here when it comes to business, and it kind of came up earlier, so I took a note here. But being in the world as a empowered, heart-led leader and entrepreneur, um, have you come up against or contended with any of the, I guess, like masculine energy out there that tends to dominate and dismiss you, not take you seriously? Like, they're there, little one. Like, because I know I have. And I'm just curious
Mhm.
if you have and how you navigate that.
Mhm. Mm. Oh yeah. Well, so I was this like innocent eh, girl that was going on a journey to be the first dessert hummus to national shelves. And I had no idea what I was doing, had never been in the food industry before. So I got looks constantly. Like I would be talking about like doing it differently, leading from intuition and magic and miracles. And these people across the desk would be like, oh, you're about to get like a tough, I don't know, piece of pie, because that's just not how things work around here. And the food industry ended up like really beating me down because of how that was like their defaults of just not wanting to embrace anything outside of what they already knew. and not wanting to embrace, like, the fact that I was young and the fact that I was a girl really hurt my hurt me, you know, at the end of the day. And even if I would have been young and male, I think it still would have hurt me nearly just the same, because I hadn't done it before and because I hadn't been in the industry. It's very valid for someone to be like, well, you don't know what you're talking about, so good luck. But I was thinking about this yesterday, actually, and how much I really thought innocently that I was going to be embraced and that my new way of looking at things was going to be welcomed, and that maybe, just maybe, I would make a difference in the food industry and I'd be able to change it and change the way things are done and change the way decisions are made. And I didn't succeed at that, you know, on that level. What I did get clear on is that, look, I'm not delighted by this. So
I love that.
And it took me like a lot of time and money and lessons and challenging moments to learn that. And I just, like, millions of dollars, like, just, it's crazy what we've gone through. But I would have said that phrase, I'm not delighted by it. I would have said it in an old version of me would have said, I wasn't welcome there. Like, I just wasn't welcome in that industry. And in a way, that's true. Like, it felt like my daughter, Delighted By, or however I was relating to Delighted By at the time, like DB, she was not welcome there. And if anything, people just wanted to squash her down. Like, you're too light, too big, too whatever, too feminine. And we're just going to squash you down. We're going to steal from you. We're going to take from you. We're going to doubt you.
That's a mass sabotage energy that I'm feeling as you're saying that. You've had a lot of people doing that, like attacking.
Oh yeah. Like, and that's the thing that I think, I don't know if it's relevant in this moment. No, I'll say this. So, like, for light workers, something to be really aware of is that when you're shining, you're going to have a lot of spirits that want to attack you and keep you down.
That's relevant, by the way. Absolutely.
Yeah, because right now, like, the light has already won. Weirdly, though, the dark is like just pulling stupid bullshit just to prolong it, essentially. And you're a victim of that in Canada, all that they're doing. But when it comes to bringing a pure essence and, like, true creativity that is in alignment with the new earth, there's going to be a little bit of resistance right now. Like, you're not going to get as many likes on Instagram. Let's just put it that way.
Here.
When you're putting out something so pure and so in alignment with universal love and the principles of the divine mother and the feminine, like, there are going to be forces that do not want that out there. And so I've had to get very present to that. Before, I was more of, like, looking at, like, I was a victim of it. And now I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, you're gonna resist me so much in that space. I'm just gonna take my light elsewhere. It's like, what happened was Delighted By took a flashlight and she shone it in all these dark corners of the industry. And she was like, okay, now that I see this and you don't want me seeing this, so you're trying to keep me out, you're trying to keep me away, you're trying to tarnish me every step of the way and steal from me. So it was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that to myself anymore. I'm leaving. I know the truth. And so she just walked out, and I walked out in February of this year. We just stopped all our contracts. I pulled out of Whole Foods, pulled out of Wegmans, pulled out of everything, because I was like, I just can't deal with this bullshit anymore because it's self-sacrificing.
So just to make sure I understand, you pulled out of basically the mainstream market of the food industry.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And that meant we had to let everyone go, which was fine, because at the end of the day, most of my team were people that were in that industry. And it just, again, it wasn't supporting. Like, I had to convince them that they, like, of our mission. I had to convince them that our purpose mattered. I had to convince them that the deeper layers of the entity, like, mattered. And there are people that I don't need to convince. And I want those people working for me at
Oh,
this
heck
end of the day.
yeah.
So it was like, I had really shot myself in the foot because I was trying so hard to exist inside of the industry because of all the bigness related to it. We sold $15 million worth of product in 5 years. It was like, I was trying to live up to that. And I just, at the end of the day, I was like, I can't do this. So, and I'm so thankful for the journey. One more piece on that of like, there was a time where we were on Shark Tank, and I was on Shark Tank. When I walked out, I said yes to Mark Cuban in the tank. I walked out, immediately got, talked to his lawyers, set up a time to connect. And the lawyers were getting like really far in the game. We're about to sign with Mark Cuban and for his investment. And I hadn't even talked to the guy. And I was like, okay, my heart's not in this until I know somebody. Because like, I can't have them be a part of my organization unless I know they're going to be cool with how I lead. Because I just didn't want to come up against resistance. I knew I was so different in terms of how I lead and my vision and my entrepreneurship that I needed to make sure it was going to be supported. And so anyway, I finally, Cuban was super cool about it. And we sat down together over summer because I was living in LA. He was in Laguna. So we got to talk and meet. And I told him, I was like, I just need to be really sure that leading from my intuition is going to be supported. And he said this not because he's a dick at all. Like, he's a really nice, amazing human. But he said what he knows to be true, what he thinks is true. He said, oh, Makenzie, that doesn't work. Like, your intuition, that's just not going to work. That's not how it's going to go here. And that's not going to work out for you. And I was just like, okay, well, we're done here then, because I just can't. And so walked away from that deal, and he totally understood and respected that. And I think that's just to speak to what you're saying, is that there's an old paradigm that is very convinced that it can only work a certain way, which, if you're Mark Cuban, you have a lot of proof that it's working for you financially. The only issue with that is what we as light workers are kind of feeling into in terms of the future, like what we feel is possible for our earth and for communities and for our sovereignty and
for our children, our
grandchildren's future. Yeah, exactly. So we're feeling into that, and we can kind of feel, all right, I see that that's working for you right now, and that you have all these different homes and a PJ and like all the things, but is that going to work forever for the future? Is that sustainable? And am I delighted by it? So I think I'm in a space right now where I'm totally reclaiming my value and totally reclaiming how I see things. And I had to go through a lot of weird stuff in order to know now I will not deal with any of that bullshit. I'm 0% compromise at this point. And I used to compromise because I thought I had to. Like, I wouldn't compromise my values necessarily, but I'd compromise of like how valued I was in a space. Like, okay, they don't really see my value, but I know it. So I'm okay with them mistreating me. And now it's like, I'm not okay with that, because if I'm going to be doing what I'm being asked to do in the next 10 years, I'm going to need to be surrounded by people that really get it and that really support it, and that are on the same page. So you're right. That whole world is existing right now. It eventually won't exist, but what my responsibility is to creating the new, continue to give more energy to the new. Because before, I was energizing the old system, and I was trying to serve through the old system. I was trying to bring medicine to the old system, which in a way worked for a second, because we got medicine to, hummus. Hummus is the medicine. We got hummus to the masses, and we dosed the planet with light in that way. But now I'm like, okay, how can I bring medicine to this planet, but in a way that feels really right for me?
Yeah. And that's just kind of getting into alignment with your own integrity and honor. And I think that that's so amazing and inspiring to hear you really and truly honoring yourself, because we do compromise that a lot. And I've mentioned it before. It's such a, when you walk away, not being heard, being dismissed, being disrespected, and you almost in a way kind of take it. And I think we have all these different ways of trying to make it okay. Like, I'll take the high road and
Yes.
I know who I am. But ultimately, deep down, at least for me, I've always experienced that as a sort of sense of self-betrayal when you
100%.
like, you don't have to have a fight. You don't have to be angry. You can say that's where that person is at. That's where their consciousness is at. And I can love them and forgive them and know that I don't need to hold and harbor negative feelings. But for me, I don't have to be around that because it's not good for me. And I need to know that how I'm living and how I'm seeing myself is being held with honor and integrity. And who you see in the mirror looking back at you. I mean, so much of like our self-worth and the way we see ourselves has so much to do with wanting to be loved or accepted, or to belong in a world that isn't always able to receive us. And as a result, we often tolerate more than we should, and then we get what we tolerate over and over.
Exactly. The big lesson right there.
Yeah. And like, I haven't got this all figured out. I'm just kind of figuring it out at 31, almost 32. You just kind of almost like, I feel like your 20s are so
trial and error.
Yeah. And then you get into your 30s, you're like, I don't have to not like you, but
yes,
do your thing, but I'm not taking your shit.
Yeah, exactly. No more.
Yeah.
It's now what I'm really interested in is finding myself in the spaces that are just so natural and easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that I don't need to work hard at times and put in the hours or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm at least, what I'm interested in is like magnetizing the people and the places and the environments and the situations that are just so natural that I don't have to force.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like I always felt like and this is a gauge, because like, there might be a company that can go into the food industry, like a conscious company that goes in and is like thriving, and is like, this is working for us. This is great. This is the way we want to serve. All due respect. I'm like, yes to that. But for me and for Delighted By, we kept hitting roadblocks, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And it was like the universe was trying to say, this is not your natural flow. This is not going to naturally work out for you. So turn around or look around for a different door. And when I gave myself permission to do that, it was like, oh, there's been this door all along. Let's go. So just finding what, like you said, like what works for you and where are you welcomed with open arms, where you don't have to change your language. You don't have to change who you are to make sense, to be understood, to fit in. You just show up who you are and you're like, yes, it's a match.
I love that. It's so true, because we often sometimes feel like we need to change ourselves so that we can fit in and so that we can belong. But I also really do believe that the more you work on yourself and the more you go within and you sort out some of that stuff inside of yourself, you tend to attract different energy in the forms of people and opportunity and experiences. And I definitely feel some of that in my own life, being kind of called in, and it's been interesting. I'm finally like over the last little bit here kind of feeling like, okay, there's something big and like a movement happening. And actually it was through listening to the Gene Keys the other day that I had kind of an epiphany about anger, and how anger, for an example, that it's fire energy. And we often think of it in such a negative way, and we can get so down on ourselves. Why am I feeling angry? Why am I, feeling these feelings, because you can feel that energy almost burning you up inside. And then I had this sort of light bulb go off where I was like, yeah, but fire, volcanoes, like they also have the power to create. And so there is a destruction of, you know, something, but at the same time, it is in that process of destruction that it's not even really destruction, because it's not like energy can't really be created or destroyed. It almost just changes shape into something else. And I realized like that burning, that fire inside of me is because something is in the process of like going through the cocoon to the butterfly stage, but I'm still in the, you know, in between kind of. So I'm like, that really helped me with just realizing that, you know, having that fire is not a bad thing. It's like, I just need to understand that I can actually use that same energy to create and like channel it in the right way.
Oh, I love that. Oh, it's beautiful.
So, okay, we've had like already, I think we're already at like a little over an hour. This has been such a great conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
And like I profess my love for you halfway through. I'm just enjoy chatting with you, and you're an inspiration. So thank you.
Love. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah. And so for anybody that wants to get in touch with you, they've heard something today, they're curious, or maybe they want to try some of your goodies and, you know, get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Good question. So for cacao, flycacao.com in the US, flycacao.ca. There's also flycacao.co.uk.
Oh, wow.
Europe is going to be opening soon, but for now you can order from our London warehouse. And then we also have flycacao.com.au for Australia and New Zealand. And then we have REQUESTbar, which you can order at requestbar.com. It's all about doing what scares the shit out of you, taking bold action towards your wildest dreams. Requesting you will receive is the big mission behind that. So requestbar.com, and you can order it internationally there. And then also delightedbydesserts.com. We're selling our hummus actually in make your own kits now. Like, so it's make your own dessert hummus at home. You get all the ingredients pre-weighed, everything's organic. Yeah, it's a fun way to infuse your love, your intention into it and share it with your loved ones. And then we also sell our allergen-free brownies, and that's all launching really soon. But I did provide discount codes, so check out the show notes for both REQUESTbar and Delighted By. And then on Instagram, let's see how long Instagram's still around, but for now, it's at Makenzie Marzluff.
Oh, okay. Well, that, just out of curiosity, do you think Instagram's going somewhere right now? What information do you have that I don't?
Right? I just think, you know, we can't get too reliant on it because it's a dark system. It's a really dark consciousness that actually is a total mind control. We can get really stuck there, and we just have to be really careful about it. So I think less and less people will give energy to it over time.
Yeah.
And so just creating like in-person, cultivating community in person to really get that like sense of touch will be the antidote for instant drug Instagram, the addiction that is. Yeah.
So just one more question. If anybody wanted to, let's say, get in touch with you in regards to ceremony, do you offer ceremonies for people?
We do every now and then here in Bozeman, Montana. So flycacao.com, we have a community calendar. And if you follow us at KAKAO Drinking Chocolate on Instagram, we announce like when other people are having ceremonies as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm looking, sorry, one last little throat clear. I'm really looking forward to being able to come and participate in one of your ceremonies.
Oh, yes.
And
it's happening.
It's happening. It's already out there.
And when you come to Montana to come to our ceremony, we'll also collaborate and do like an amazing event together that everyone will have to come to. So
for anyone Yeah. And for anyone that's listening and not watching the video, I have like Mr. Burns like tapping my fingers together in front of my face.
Yay.
I love it. Okay, well, thank you so much. And yeah, that's that.
Mwah. Bye.